Rory Calhoun finally breaks silence on Randolph Scott. Rory Calhoun, born Francis Timothy McCaw on August 8, 1922 in Los Angeles, California, was a man whose life seemed scripted for the silver screen long before he ever set foot in front of a camera. His early years were marked by struggle and turbulence, a childhood shaped by the hardships of the Great Depression, where stability was a luxury few could afford. Poverty, broken homes, and instability were constants, and young Francis often found himself in trouble with the law. By the time he was a teenager, he had already spent time in juvenile detention for petty crimes, and in his early 20s, he faced more serious consequences, including stints in federal reformatory and even prison. These were dark chapters, moments that might have derailed the life of any ordinary man. Yet for Rory, they became the crucible that forged a resilience, a toughness, and a realism that would define him both on screen and off. Despite these early setbacks, Calhoun's charm and determination carried him forward. After his release, he worked a series of rough, physically demanding jobs: mechanic, logger, cowboy, any role that would keep him moving and earning. But destiny had a way of intervening. A chance meeting with actor Alan Ladd would change the course of his life forever. Ladd's wife, Sue Carroll, a keen-eyed talent agent, immediately saw the magnetic presence of the tall, broad-shouldered young man with piercing eyes. She recognized that beneath the rugged exterior was someone who could embody the heroics, the stoicism, and the quiet intensity that Hollywood craved in its leading men. She signed him, gave him the stage name Rory Calhoun, and sent him to acting school, a new beginning for a man who had once walked the shadowy edges of society. Calhoun's rise to fame was swift. Making his screen debut in the early 1940s, he quickly found himself in supporting roles, the kind of parts that demanded toughness, charm, and a natural athleticism. Audiences of the post-war era were drawn to his looks, rugged, confident, and undeniably masculine, but it was his authenticity that set him apart. He wasn't just playing the part of a cowboy or an adventurer. He was channeling a life he had lived even in its most difficult moments. This rare authenticity made him a natural fit for the Western genre, which was at the height of its popularity. Films like The Red House, 1947, A Song in My Heart, 1952, and River of No Return, 1954, opposite icons like Marilyn Monroe and Robert Mitchum, cemented his status as a leading man. Fans admired his quiet confidence. He never needed to shout or dominate a scene to command attention. His stoic strength, understated charm, and grounded presence made him unforgettable. But Calhoun's connection to the Western wasn't just cinematic, it was personal. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he had truly lived aspects of the cowboy life. He knew how to ride, rope, and survive in unforgiving conditions. That experience translated to an authenticity on screen that directors and audiences both recognized and valued. When he starred in The Texan from 1958 to 1960, viewers weren't just watching a character. They were watching a man who had lived parts of that life. The series became a hit, and Calhoun's heroism and gentlemanly demeanor on screen resonated deeply with the American public. Behind the scenes, Rory Calhoun was equally compelling. He was independent, loyal, and famously generous with fans, yet he carried a mischievous streak that gave Hollywood gossip columnists plenty to write about. Directors praised his professionalism. Fans adored his charm. He was a study in contrasts, a rebel with a golden heart, tough yet tender, a man whose complexity mirrored the larger-than-life characters he often portrayed. These layers of personality, combined with a natural screen presence, made him both a star and a legend. As the Western genre began to fade in the late 1960s, Calhoun showed an adaptability that many of his peers lacked. He transitioned smoothly into television, low-budget films, and eventually even comedies and action projects. One of his more surprising roles came in Motel Hell, 1980, a darkly comedic project that proved he could still surprise audiences with his versatility decades into his career. While some actors faded as trends shifted, Calhoun remained relevant, demonstrating that true talent and dedication can transcend genre limitations. Calhoun's personal life mirrored the drama and passion of his on-screen roles. His first marriage was to actress and singer Lita Barron, a union that reflected the glamour and pressures of Hollywood at the time. They married in 1948 during the height of Calhoun's rise to fame. Lita, known for her own musical and acting talents, fits seamlessly into the world of glitz and high-profile events that defined Hollywood's post-war era. Together, they were a power couple, admired for both their appearance and presence. The marriage produced 3 daughters, Cindy, Tammy, and Lori, whom Calhoun adored, though his demanding career often kept him away from home. But life in the spotlight is rarely easy. Calhoun's reputation as a charming ladies' man, amplified by gossip columns and the public's fascination with Hollywood romances, put pressure on the marriage. Rumors, some exaggerated, some grounded in reality, began to erode the foundation of trust. By the late 1960s, the cracks had become insurmountable. In 1969, Lita Barron publicly cited Rory's infidelities as the reason for their separation, a bold move at the time, one that exposed the personal struggles behind the polished facade of stardom. She emphasized that while many things could be forgiven, lies were not, a sentiment that made headlines and offered a rare glimpse into the human side of a Hollywood legend. Their marriage officially ended in 1970, closing a chapter on one of the golden era's enduring on-screen and off-screen relationships. Despite this heartbreak, Rory Calhoun did not lose faith in love. In 1971, he found companionship with Sue Rodess, a British journalist whose warmth and intelligence drew him in. Unlike his first marriage, which unfolded under relentless public scrutiny, his relationship with Sue was quieter, grounded, and marked by mutual respect. Those close to Calhoun often noted that Sue brought stability and calm to his life, offering a sense of balance that contrasted sharply with the whirlwind of fame and attention he had endured for decades. Together, they represented a more mature chapter for Calhoun, one where love was measured not by public appearances or gossip, but by shared understanding and partnership. Yet even as Rory reflected on his life and love, questions remained about his relationship with fellow actor Randolph Scott, a star of the Western genre and a man whose career and persona often intersected with his own. Fans and historians alike speculated about the nature of their connection, wondering how these two icons of Hollywood's golden age influenced one another, both professionally and personally. It was a topic Calhoun had long avoided in interviews, perhaps out of respect, or perhaps due to the complexity of their interactions behind the scenes. But finally, decades later, he chose to speak, offering insights into a friendship and professional respect that had shaped his approach to acting and life. Calhoun described Scott not merely as a colleague, but as a mentor of sorts. Though their paths often crossed in film studios and on location, Scott's influence extended beyond acting techniques. He represented discipline, professionalism, and a subtle yet powerful kind of charisma that Calhoun admired and sought to emulate. Where Scott was measured and precise, Calhoun brought energy and authenticity, a combination that reflected the unique balance of mentorship and camaraderie between the two men. He recalled the long days on set, the shared challenges of stunts, horseback riding, and rugged filming schedules, and how Scott's steady demeanor helped him navigate the pressures of Hollywood. "Randolph had a way of making you feel capable," Calhoun once said. "Like no matter how tough the shoot or how wild the scene, you could handle it if you stayed focused." That quiet encouragement, he admitted, played a role in his own confidence and resilience, particularly during moments when the industry could be unforgiving. Their friendship, though not always publicly visible, was rooted in mutual respect. Calhoun acknowledged that Hollywood often thrives on rumor and exaggeration, yet his bond with Scott was genuine. It was about shared experience, shared craft, and shared dedication to an art form that demanded more than just good looks or charm. It required heart, commitment, and grit. As Rory Calhoun reflected on his career, he often returned to those formative years alongside Randolph Scott, recognizing how much the older actor had shaped his professional outlook. Scott was the embodiment of calm authority on set, a man who didn't need flamboyance to command attention. In contrast, Calhoun brought a certain vitality and natural charm that made him instantly likable. Together, they created an unspoken balance. Scott's discipline tempered Calhoun's exuberance, while Calhoun's authenticity and energy injected life into every scene they shared. Calhoun often spoke candidly about the lessons he learned from Scott, emphasizing that it wasn't just about acting, but about professionalism and integrity. He recalled times when he would watch Scott meticulously study a scene, observing the smallest details of posture, timing, and delivery. "I realized early on," Calhoun said, "that talent could take you far, but respect for your craft and the people around you would take you even further." That respect extended to everyone on set, from the directors to the crew, and Calhoun carried that lesson forward throughout his career, often mentoring younger actors who crossed his path. During the height of his career in the 1950s, Calhoun became a household name. His roles in films like River of No Return with Marilyn Monroe and Robert Mitchum, and Flat Top, 1952, where he played a fighter pilot, showcased his versatility. He wasn't just a cowboy or a romantic lead. He could embody different archetypes convincingly, whether as a rugged adventurer, a charming rogue, or a morally complex hero. Audiences admired the ease with which he slipped into his roles, and critics often noted his understated style, never overbearing, never exaggerated, yet always memorable. What set Calhoun apart, however, wasn't just his talent, it was his authenticity. Unlike many actors who could mimic cowboy skills on screen, Rory had lived them. He knew how to ride, rope, and endure the physical demands of outdoor filming, giving his performances a realism that resonated with viewers. In many ways, his life experiences, the hardships, the mistakes, and the resilience he built along the way, lent a gravitas to his work that could not be taught in acting school. And while Scott's influence was significant, Calhoun's personal history gave him a raw edge that made him unforgettable. As television began to dominate American households in the late 1950s, Calhoun made the transition seamlessly. The Texan, 1958-1960, became one of his defining projects, earning him recognition not just as a film actor, but as a television star. The series, which followed the adventures of a lone drifter in the Old West, perfectly suited Calhoun's persona. Viewers could see the blend of toughness, morality, and understated charisma that defined him both on and off the screen. It was during this period that Calhoun truly cemented his reputation as a leading man who could carry a show, a man whose presence was magnetic without ever feeling forced. Despite his on-screen heroism, life off-camera was rarely simple. Calhoun's first marriage to Lita Barron had endured the pressures of fame for more than 2 decades, producing 3 daughters, Cindy, Tammy, and Lori. Yet, the constant scrutiny of the Hollywood machine, combined with Calhoun's own reputation as a ladies' man, strained the marriage to breaking point. Gossip columns magnified every rumor, painting a picture of infidelity and instability. While some reports were exaggerated, the impact on family life was real. Lita eventually chose to separate from Rory in 1969, citing infidelity and the erosion of trust. Their divorce was finalized in 1970. Marking the end of an era for one of Hollywood's most enduring post-war couples. Calhoun's personal life took a different turn when he met Sue Rodez in 1971. Unlike Lita, Sue was a journalist drawn not only to his film legacy but also to his wit, warmth, and the man behind the celebrity persona. Their relationship was quieter, more private, and ultimately stabilizing. Friends often remarked that Sue brought a sense of calm and balance into Rory's life, providing the support he needed while allowing him to continue his career on his own terms. It was a mature love, built on mutual respect, shared interests, and an understanding of the man behind the fame. While Calhoun's career continued, the era of the classic Western was fading. The genre that had launched him to fame was no longer dominant, and actors of his generation faced a choice: adapt or fade away. Rory chose adaptation. He took roles in television, low-budget films, and eventually explored genres like comedy and action. Projects like Motel Hell, 1980, demonstrated his willingness to reinvent himself and surprise audiences. Where others struggled to find their footing, Calhoun proved that longevity in Hollywood depended not just on talent, but on versatility, resilience, and an understanding of changing audience tastes. Throughout this period, his reflections on Randolph Scott remained candid and revealing. Calhoun emphasized that their relationship was never about competition. It was about mutual respect and shared craft. Scott, reserved and disciplined, provided a stabilizing influence, while Calhoun's energy and authenticity brought vitality to their collaborations. He recalled a particular moment during a long shoot when tensions ran high due to weather and logistical challenges. Scott, ever calm, offered guidance in a way that Calhoun later described as quietly heroic. He didn't lecture or dictate, he simply showed you how it could be done with grace and patience. That stuck with me for life. Calhoun also spoke about the camaraderie that developed off-screen. They shared meals, conversations about the industry, and moments of quiet reflection after grueling days of filming. There was a shared understanding between them, a recognition that the craft they loved demanded sacrifice, dedication, and mutual support. These personal connections, often invisible to the public eye, were integral to Calhoun's growth as an actor and as a man. He credited Scott not only with professional guidance, but also with helping him navigate the often treacherous social landscape of Hollywood, where reputations could be made or broken with a single headline. Even as he embraced new projects and personal relationships, Calhoun never lost sight of the lessons from his early career and from mentors like Scott. He remained humble, grounded, and approachable, traits that earned him admiration across generations of fans. Whether on a film set, a television production, or in private moments with family and friends, Rory carried himself with a quiet confidence shaped by experience, hard work, and a deep understanding of human nature.